All right, we are live. So this is Sam, and I run the YouTube channel Chalice and Chains, and I'm really excited to be running this Fate Core game for Brigadecon 2015. I have not been able to really participate in Brigadecon today, so I feel bad about that, but I'm super excited to run this adventure for these guys. It is titled The American League of Eldritch Scholars, and I will give a brief description of kind of the setting and all that in just a moment. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to let my players describe the characters that they're playing and kind of, what brought them into the league, so to speak. But before I do that, the setting is San Francisco, 1910-ish. I'm going to set it for this purpose in 1910. And the players have been, or the characters have been, invited to a lecture by the University of California at Berkeley's classics professor, Dr. David Stetson, because he has discovered a new use for magic. He has discovered how to create a portal to an alternate universe, which can potentially take you back in time, forward in time, that whole thing. And so he's going to reveal that knowledge to his, to his compatriots, to the League. So, without further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from my left. So, Chris, if you want to go ahead and describe who you're going to be playing today and how they became part of the League of Eldritch Scholars.
Sure. I'm playing Ash Devlin, and he is a reluctant necromancer, and that pretty much defines how he ended up getting pulled into the League of Eldritch Scholars, because he was not interested in joining them per se. Nobody chooses necromancy as their magic. It sort of chose him, and they felt that that was something that needed to be controlled, and they wanted to teach him how to use it, and so they basically worked to get him to join. His day job, if you will, is he's a graduate student in archaeology, which works well because as a part of his necromancy, what he can do is he hears the echoes of things past, so he can tune into sites, for instance, and see what really happened back then. And so that's basically what set him up. Oh, and the other thing is, you should know, is his trouble is that he's unlucky. So when things are going well, they're not going to go well for long. And he looks at that as a curse. And that sort of defines a lot of what happens with him, and it will define how he plays.
Excellent, thanks. Oh, and what is his sort of day job? What does he do in normal everyday life?
He's a graduate student in archaeology.
Fantastic. All right, awesome, thank you. Well, I will move on to Corey.
Mute. Okay, so I am playing Sienna Cien. Her day job is that she is the first female inspector for the San Francisco Police Department, and only. And yeah, she's pretty groundbreaking on that. She's got a secret though that her captain knows, and that's what her trouble is. The secret is that her captain knows that she has powers, and she doesn't absolutely trust that guy, so we'll see how that goes. And what her power is that she can mimic somebody else's powers. Think like Sylar from Heroes, or kind of Rogue, but on a short-term basis. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of why she's in the League. She has a very specific talent that the League was very interested in, and she's very new with the League. This will be the very first thing that she ever goes out on, and she's very excited to be working with them, and but also very nervous.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks for that. And just so you know, literally this year was the first year that women were elected or were invited to join the league. So you are one of only two women in the league. The other is Anna Davis. She is a switchboard operator for Pacific Bell. So, and she's somewhat of a clairvoyant and an empath. So that's cool. So you're very groundbreaking in that regard.
Very happy to be that.
Cool, awesome. All right, and last but not least, Mike, if you want to go ahead.
Sure. I will be playing Haji, the Gatekeeper. Basically, Haji is the League's master of lore in their library. He is in charge of keeping the secrets secret. He is in charge of keeping the security as far as anything that is recovered from the League's missions, expeditions, explorations, anything from books, tombs, relics, artifacts, talismans, and in his time spent there, people don't actually know how long he's physically been over there, but it seems from generation to generation, people have told stories about their encounters with the librarian that does not seem to age. Since he spent so much time in there and has done so much reading, he's actually explored a lore that most scholars of the League stay away from, and that's the powers of Eldritch teleportation or gate opening. He is one of very few individuals in the world that actually practices it, and even just practicing it is unheard of, only because of the dangers that can lie on the other side as it is. He was sent his invitation because as part of his job, he's also a chronicler, and he will be taking dictation of the presentation this evening.
Awesome, thanks. All right, so and just before we get started, I'll just make a couple of notes here. For anybody viewing or anybody who watches this after the fact, we are playing Fate Core, so you'll notice the Fate Core skills will be used. And also, I hope that this will highlight just how easy it is to run a game in Fate. You know, this is going to show that you can use magic, you can set this in any time period, and Fate is so versatile that you should be able to easily kind of mimic any kind of setting or story you want. So we're going to get started. You guys are in a small lecture hall in the University of California, Berkeley's main campus. Not one of the larger lecture halls, because although Dr. Stetson is well known in his field, he's a professor of classics, and you know, that is what it is. It's not one of the glamour you know, one of the glamour studies. And he's a somewhat new professor to Cal Berkeley. He was from Chicago originally. So he's called you guys here, and you guys all know each other. There's about 20 of you in the room. Not a great number, especially for a city the size of San Francisco. You would assume that there are more people with magical knowledge out there. But as you guys have experienced from your own lives, this is something that you keep secret. And when you became part of the League, one of the things that Dr. Stetson really stressed for you guys is that this is not something that you can share freely with your friends and family. Now, some of you may have, wife, children, significant others, best friends, whatever, that know your secret, or they might not. But one of the great things about being part of the League is that everyone here knows, if not what your power is, that you have power, and that whether or not they're comfortable with your particular brand of magic, everybody knows that they can do one thing or another. Now, in some cases, that breeds distrust. In some cases, that brings you together. But one thing that everybody knows is that Dr. Stetson has called you all here today because he has revealed that he has discovered a groundbreaking discovery, so to speak, in magic. He believes that he has the ability to open a portal to either travel through time or to an alternate dimension. Maybe that's one and the same, but he's not quite sure. But he's going to reveal to you that knowledge. So as you guys are looking around and you're in here, Dr. Stetson comes up to the podium, and he's there in his spectacles and his overcoat. Not his overcoat, but his blazer, khaki trousers, looking like he would have just come from office hours. He has this sandy blonde hair that's starting to gray, kind of belying his age. And he's actually somewhat of a, what do you want to use the word, almost a rogue on campus. He's not well respected by the people in charge because he is a big hit with the students. The female students very much enjoy taking his class, and because he is, he's come from Chicago, he's new here, in this sort of more liberal city in San Francisco, he's taken that to heart, and so he's very chummy with the male students as well, which make up the majority. They're always discussing, Cal's football team and how they're going to fare against Stanford this year and all that. So he's well respected. He's also well respected among the league. He's known as someone who's very fair and empathetic. He knows each and every one of you. He knows your powers, what you can do, and he knows about your family and your life. He's been very supportive of you, and for that, he has gained a lot of respect. Now, as he kind of comes to the podium and he takes a sip of water, and he puts it down and he takes his glasses off and he scans the room, and he looks to you and he says, "Thank you all for coming. It's greatly appreciated that you would take the time out of your day to come here, and I hope that you will find this, well, I know you'll find this to be valuable. I know that this is something that we will be able to traverse to new heights in our magical scholarship and knowledge, that we will be able to change the world, I believe." Now, I came here prepared to give you a speech, but instead, I'm not going to do that. I think today what I'm going to do is mostly just give you some information and allow you to ask questions. Because after all, that's basically what I did to discover this knowledge. And he looks over to Haji a little bit and gives him kind of a nod, because Haji was instrumental in helping to produce the magical tomes, or the tomes of knowledge and lore that helped him to kind of make the breakthrough in this discovery. Now, Haji wasn't part of these experiments that he was doing, but he was doing, so he gives you this sort of, giving you recognition. But then he turns back and he says, "Gentlemen and ladies," and he motions with his hand to Sienna and also to Anna Davis, the only other female member of the league. And he says, "I've finally discovered it. I've discovered the way to create, I guess the right word would be a portal, a rift, some way to physically travel to another place. But what I've discovered is it's not like teleportation. We're not in the same space, the same time, and he's struggling with the words because he's not a very scientific man. He's a man rooted in history and in stories and stuff like that, and so he doesn't understand the physics behind it, so he doesn't know how to describe it in that way. But he says, I've been able to communicate with people that claim to be from a different time, to be from a world where things exist that don't exist in our world. I'll go into more detail if you guys want, but it's an amazing discovery, and I finally figured out a way that I can consistently replicate the opening of these portals, and I've been able to close them as well. And my friends, what I have been able to discover is nothing short of astounding. It's I almost can't even put it into words. I've been able to travel to the past. I've been able to travel to the future. I've been able to talk to people in these other worlds and discover things about these other worlds or these other times or dimensions or whatever they are that I think could revolutionize the world that we live in. So before I start with the demonstration, I want to open it up to any questions that you guys have. Anything that you might be interested in learning or anything before I show you how we do this. And he looks around the room looking for any questions.
Haji kind of eyeballs him, and he stays silent for a couple of minutes before motioning his hand up, and he says, "You're not worried about a type of butterfly effect happening, Dr. Stetson?"
And he looks at you and he says, I think I catch your meaning, and so far no, but why don't you elaborate on that for me just a little bit, specifically what you mean?
By butterfly effect, I mean, in my experiences of reading about temporal travel or the theories of it, even the slightest disturbance in the past can have a great effect on the future.
And he nods, knowing, with that knowing kind of look, like, okay, yeah, I get what you're talking about. And he says, no, in fact, this is what is so interesting about this. Because these are what I believe to be parallel universes, what we do there will not affect here. So, for example, if we were to go back in time and, let's say, assassinate Napoleon in their universe, here that didn't happen. He still would have rampaged across Europe and did what he did. So far, I haven't seen any butterfly effect, so to speak.
So you're saying it's much like watching a movie, but you can control the film, but it doesn't change anything in real reality.
Yes, actually, that's a good assessment. I would say it's very much like that. The only difference is you would be one of the characters in the film, so to speak.
Interesting.
Ash raises his hand, and you see him also waving at something that nobody else can see, obviously trying to hush one of his ghosts. And he says, Professor, so what are the dangers of this travel? Is there any chance we could bring anything back or bring anything to that new place that might, like diseases or anything like that? Do we know that magic, for instance, and physics work the same way in these alternate dimensions?
And he says, excellent questions, excellent questions. He says, I have found that mechanical devices do not go with us when we go to these alternate realities. For some reason, anything more complex than clothing, even to the point of a wristwatch, a pocket watch, a pocket knife, can't go with us for some reason. In fact, when I come back, they are on the ground right where I stepped through this portal. So to answer that question, maybe. I don't know about things like diseases, for example. And just sort of, he doesn't say this out loud, but really his power is dimensional travel. His power up until this point had been mostly teleportation. So almost think of like if you've seen the movie Jumper or the book, which I think had a slightly different name and was actually better. But it's like that. He used to be able to, he could teleport. But now he's taken that to the next level. So he says that's a very real concern, but I don't know.
And this is a power that you possess or something, a machine? How are you creating this?
And he says, again, excellent question. And I will show you that. No, it's not a machine. I believe that my powers and my scholarship have progressed to a level where I've discovered the mechanisms to be able to create this extra dimensional portal. And you guys know that magic works very differently for every person. So some people are very reliant upon gestures and incantations, and some of them need a physical focus, an item of some kind to manifest their magic. Others, it's very intuitive. They just think it and it happens. Some can't really control it. Like you guys know, for example, that Anna Davis is an empath. So she has these psychic abilities that she doesn't know how to control. She can't turn off. And so she's very conscious of people's emotions and moods and can frequently hear surface thoughts. And it's enough to be very upsetting and disturbing for her. And so, but she also has the ability to project thought. And that is something that she can control. But she doesn't mutter incantations. She doesn't do anything like that. So he says, I will show you, and there is a ritual, and he's very ritualistic based. That's how his magic works. There is a ritual that I must perform that will allow this to happen. But what I believe is that anybody can replicate this ritual. Now, I have not found, because I have just now decided to reveal this knowledge to the League, but in my travels, I have seen other people in other dimensions be able to replicate this. And as he says that, you see this stirring from a member kind of in the back of the room. And this guy, you notice, he's new to the League. He's only been here, maybe once or twice before. He's probably only been here for the last maybe month or two. And you really don't know a lot about him. You know that his name is Carlos. He's Hispanic. He actually works at the college as kind of a maintenance technician. He's a janitor basically, and so but he's got some kind of power. Now you guys don't actually know what it is. He hasn't shared that knowledge with you. In fact, he hasn't shared very much of anything with you. Presumably, Dr. Stetson knows his power, but you guys don't. And so you just kind of out of the back of your eye, you notice this. And Sienna, you kind of your spidey sense starts to tingle a little bit. Something doesn't feel right, and you kind of start seeing almost movement in the back of the room. But as you turn around and as you look, nothing's there. There's no people moving. Everybody's sitting, kind of eyes glued on Dr. Stetson. So what do you guys want to do?
Well, I certainly, I look around and I certainly am uneasy. There's something that was around the room, and I'm not sure what it is, and I find it very hard to pay attention to the doctor at this point, and I just keep trying to figure out what it is, and to no avail, and I just kind of just zone out for a while. And am I really in my own place? And then Dr. Stetson starts talking again about something that catches my eye, and I'm back in there again. But yeah, it's really hurting me that I don't know what that was, and I'd really like to mimic that guy so we can know what his powers are.
Okay, yeah, and so I think we determined that to do that you would have to touch him. However, he's sitting several rows back from you, so to do that you would have to physically get up while the doctor is kind of giving his Q&A. You can do that, but you understand that will be a bit of breach of etiquette, so to speak.
No, absolutely, and I'm definitely contemplating on how I can maybe get closer to him and maybe build some rapport with him after the meeting. I'm definitely gonna be paying attention to him as he leaves.
Awesome. And Ash, you also start sort of having your spidey sense tingle, but for the reason that you're like, you notice something is off, and it's freaking you out because you think, oh man, if something's going to go wrong during a presentation of extra-dimensional travel, that's not maybe a good thing. So you're starting to get a little bit nervous here.
So I'm starting to check and see where the exits are?
Yeah, exactly.
How far am I away? What row am I in?
Yeah, and to that point, actually, there are two exits or two entrances to the room. In the back, there are sort of a set of double doors that you would come into. This is not one of those amphitheater rooms. This is a smaller kind of, maybe a 20-seat, 25-seat lecture hall. So it's actually fairly crowded. But yeah.
So if you're saying I'm starting to sense something, does that mean that it's potentially something connected with necromancy? And so I might be hearing ghosts whispering something to me, or an agitation, or is it something that if I try and figure out what this is by looking at Carlos or trying to feel what's coming out from Carlos, if it is coming from Carlos?
Yeah, so you don't actually get the feeling that it's necromantic per se. However, I would definitely say if you want to make a overcome roll using notice to kind of assess Carlos, and because you can tell that something about him isn't right. It doesn't feel magical. But like he's uneasy, or he's there's something, his demeanor is different. So yeah, you could certainly do that if you want to.
Okay.
He's a Republican.
In 1910 California, that might not, and I don't know the politics of the time, but that might not be that weird.
It depends what alternate universe we're in right now, right?
Yeah. If we end up traveling to 2015 San Francisco at the end of this adventure, then that would definitely. All right, so Ash, you succeed at sort of this notice roll. You he looks very agitated. He looks angry, actually. He's hiding it well. But this is something, I mean, he's always been sort of aloof. He's always been sort of reclusive. But this is the first time that you've noticed hostility in his demeanor. But as you are kind of looking at him, he looks back at you, and he shoots you this look, just like, what do you want? And so for a minute, it's almost like, oh, all right, well, maybe he's pissed because I'm, like, staring him down.
Mm-hmm.
But you're like, no, it's something more than that. And then he kind of gets up, and he starts walking, like you start to think, man, maybe I pissed him off, and he starts walking towards the back of the room. And he sits down a couple of seats away, like kind of to get further away from your gaze. And just at that moment, Dr. Stetson starts talking again, because you notice that somebody else actually asked a question. And so he says, well, actually, yes, that's a good question. We have discovered that you won't actually need to read the book, to know the physical words here. Once you've discovered how to do this ritual and do this incantation, it becomes second nature, and you can do it very quickly. And so all of you guys are sort of like, wait, what's going on? And he's like, well, it seems like, I mean, unless there's any other pressing questions, it seems like this is the time to demonstrate what I'm talking about. But then he pauses, and he looks around.
Well, Ash says, no time like the present, Professor. Let's do it. Show us what you've got.
Excellent. And he looks to Haji, and he says, Haji, would you mind, and because he's talked to you prior to the thing, there's a specific book that he referenced that provided him with the incantation for how to do this, and you actually had to do some pretty spectacular and dangerous stuff to find this book. So if you want to, feel free to go ahead and kind of describe a little bit about that. If you don't want to, that's fine too.
Describe how he found it?
Yeah, so like describe how your character, like what this book is, why it's special, and where you located it. Because this book was not one that was just sitting in the archives, in the physical archives. You had to do something to find this knowledge. Yeah.
This was actually brought to the League's attention several years ago. Something that was reportedly found in Atlantis. However, there's been no other documentation, no other proof that it actually came from Atlantis. It's been in my care ever since, up until Dr. Stetson decided to take it off of my hands. Unfortunately, afterwards, the individual that brought it to me ceased contact, and I have not heard from that person since.
Excellent. Okay. And so as you bring the book up to him, he shakes your hand, and he's excited. Like, that he's really ready to show everybody. And so he takes the book, and he motions for you to sit back down, and he flips it open to the page that you've bookmarked. And Haji, you're the only person other than, and you actually had to translate it for Dr. Stetson. You're the only person that can read this. This is in a language that only you understand, and maybe you understand that because you have some kind of, that your magical knowledge helps you understand it. It's that rare. And as he opens the book, and he actually pulls out some note cards, and he's looking at them, Sienna and Ash, you guys notice, because you're sort of half paying attention to Carlos, he actually gets up like he's going to leave and walks to the back of the door. And Dr. Stetson, is looking at his cards and he's looking at the book, and he starts muttering something in this language that you can't understand. Actually, before he does that, he says, I'm going to speak an incantation, and I'm going to perform a ritual here that will open the portal. Now, what I have discovered is you only have to do this one time. Once you've done it, you will instinctively know how this magic works. It almost becomes a part of you. And so the next time you wish to open a portal like this, you will not have to perform the ritual. But, he says, unfortunately, my knowledge is limited to the point that when I open this portal, I have no control of when or where it opens to, only that it opens. So he looks around and he says, and he kind of has this nervous laugh. He's like, I would just be prepared. I don't want to frighten anybody, but I've had a few instances where there have been things that have come through this portal that, well, they shouldn't be in our world. So just be on guard, be prepared. And so then he starts speaking in these incantations. And I want, if you can, I want both Sienna and Ash to go ahead and make a notice roll for me. And it's going to be at difficulty 2.
All right, explain to me what that means, please.
So what that means is you will go to the fate roller, and you will click on, if you have the skill notice, you'll click on whatever the modifier is. So if it's +1, +2, +3, whatever. If you don't have the skill notice, you just click on the +0. What you're doing is you're making a, okay, so you got a 2, or no, you got a 1. So what that means is that Sienna did not succeed in noticing this. So if you fail at an overcome roll, you basically fail. Or you can choose to succeed, but if you succeed, there's some kind of cost involved with that. Ash, however, does notice what's going on, and so before I describe what it is, Sienna, would you like to just straight up fail and not notice because you're focused on the doctor, or do you want to succeed but with some kind of cost?
You mean a consequence, right?
Yes, exactly. Now, it's nothing major, but it might be something along the lines of split focus or sluggish reaction or something. It will basically put an aspect into play.
I'm done for that.
Okay. So do you want to do something like that, like split focus?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that.
All right. So
shoot the nail.
Yeah, exactly. So go ahead and, well, no, I'm going to write that down. What that means, just sort of out of character mechanically, is that there is now a scene aspect that I can invoke in a sense to use against you.
Right.
But what you guys notice is that as this incantation is going on, Carlos has gotten up, walked to the back door that you guys all came into, and opens the door. And as he opens the door, he steps out of the way, and you see 2 men come in, both armed with pistols. They both look, they're both hooded. They're fairly short. They're not very muscular. They would probably be 5'4", 5'5". They're wearing sort of trench coats. I mean, it's been raining outside. It's a little colder at this point, so nothing out of the ordinary there. But they do have kind of like a hood up, obscuring their faces. And actually, as they enter, they take off their hoods to get a better look, and they're you can see them kind of drawing pistols, and you notice that they have around their necks a certain symbol, a holy symbol, or not a holy symbol, but a certain symbol, and they've got like some tattoos on their faces. And if you want to make, if either of you want to make a lore roll against a difficulty of 2, you can, to see if you can identify what that symbol is.
Sure.
All right. So okay, yeah. So you all succeed. So Ash, you at this point start almost like your head is just filling with voices, these sort of cries from the beyond almost, and it's one word: Illuminati. And Sienna, you recognize the symbol as the Illuminati as well, because you're somewhat of a paranormal investigator as well, meaning that part of what you do for the San Francisco Police Department is investigate the crimes that don't make sense. So you've heard of the Illuminati, and they basically are a group that tries to keep magic and any kind of knowledge to that effect, anything that would be powerful, out of the hands of the regular people. They want to control that knowledge. So these guys are not friends of the League by any stretch of the imagination. And so yeah, so you see them entering, pistols drawn.
Okay, so who's closer to us, the Illuminati or the professor?
The professor is definitely closer. You guys would be sitting, within a few rows of the podium, where this is probably, 15 or 20 feet, maybe even a little bit further back. But you guys are definitely between those two figures and Carlos and the professor.
Okay. Well, Ash tends to be a bit rash, so Ash is gonna get up and say, "Hey, we don't need any issues here. No troubles. We can just talk through this. Whatever your issues are with the professor or with us, we can talk through this."
And as you do that, they kind of turn their focus to you, and one of them actually aims a pistol right at your head. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer you a fate point to compel your cursed aspect to have you basically think, oh my god, I can't believe they're going to shoot me in the head. This is going wrong so quickly, I'm going to duck for cover. So you can choose to accept that, or you can pay a fate point to not accept that.
Okay, I'll accept it. So I guess I'll dive into the rows of the chairs to get away from it.
Okay. Oh, and by the way, just if you want, in Dice Stream, you know how you have the counter?
Right.
You guys have 3 fate points, so now you have 4. So if you want to set your counter to 4, and then that can help you kind of count down as you spend or gain fate points.
Okay.
So I mean, you see Ash at the sight of this gun lazily pointed at his head. You could tell, because you've spent time on the streets, this guy was basically just saying, "Shut up, I'm going to shoot you." But this dude way overreacts and is like, dives into the seats, kind of dives over some of the bodies. A couple of people jump up. What's going on?
Yeah, she's very confused why this is happening, and just reaches for, she has her pistol that she would have because of being on the force, and kind of just draws it a little bit just into her leg a little bit, and looks at it and just shakes her head, looks down at Ash over the seat because he's sitting behind her, and goes, "Really? A pistol?"
I thought he was going to shoot. There was no shot.
But he didn't. And then she reaches over and shoots and points her pistol at him and goes, "It's just a pistol. Get back up, man."
At Ash, you're pointing the pistol at Ash.
And he goes, "It's just a pistol. Get up." And then holsters her back, and expects Ash to probably get up.
Oh wow! I was about to. I don't know what it's called. I don't think it's called a GM intrusion in this game. I think that's a different game. But I was about to have a accidental firing of the gun go off. So no, just kidding. That would be horrible. Haji, how do you react as you see these armed men? You see this scene happening, and you basically see the police inspector, instead of confronting this armed threat, more like, what the hell are you doing to Ash? How do you react to this?
Haji has a will of +4, so he's a very composed individual. He just simply stands up and he turns around and he says, "I don't believe that you gentlemen have an invitation this evening," as he reaches to his side and he has a old key ring that has a bunch of skeleton keys on it. And he's basically just flipping it through his fingers, and he says, "I am now going to give you the opportunity to turn around and walk out of here with no repercussions."
And as you do that, you see this guy just kind of look at you, and almost with confusion in his eyes, like, what the hell? I'm holding a gun, and you got a knife in your hand, and this is what you're doing? That's insane. And so he just kind of shakes his head, and he starts saying something to you in Spanish. Now, would you imagine that your character knows Spanish or no?
Maybe simple phrases, but nothing complex.
Okay. So yeah, you basically don't understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
Just from sort of his body language and his context, you kind of get the idea that he's like, who the hell do you think you are? And he's got his pistol aimed right at you now. And the guy behind him is coming up, and he's actually aiming his pistol at Dr. Stetson, but nobody is firing yet. And you're very aware of that, and because you figured if they wanted to kill this guy, they would have immediately shot. They had the opportunity to do so.
Sienna does understand Spanish, being of Latin descent. And she very much knows what they said, so what did they say to him? You're muted.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, my stupid computer. You tell me what they said.
Well, he very much didn't say anything nice to him. He talked about the fact that his mother might have not known his father very well when he was born, and so on and so forth, and then they both giggled and said, yeah, they called him a person that might be raped or something. Not very nice. And then I look at them and I say, in Spanish, I say, gentlemen, it's a really not nice thing to say about somebody's mother. Can we be a bit more civilized? I understand that I had to make fun of Ash here. That was ridiculous. But and I stand up and I do place my hand on my pistol. They know that I have one, and I say, there's no reason for the pistols because there's no reason for pistols here. We're all adults. Let's have a conversation. If it has to be in Spanish, I will translate. So, can we be maybe a little more amicable here? I'm sorry for what is already transpired.
And he basically he's basically like, "SA, you tripping?" No. If this was 2015, that's what he'd be saying. But it's 1910, so he's not. They look a little bit taken aback. They did not expect somebody to be armed in here. And normally, you can't. Normally, you have to check your guns, but you are a police inspector, and you wouldn't have checked your guns even if that was a rule. So now these two guys are for a minute anyway, staring at a loaded pistol. However, the guy kind of like whistles, and his homie basically turns around, and now you have two pistols aimed at you, and they kind of speak, and the one guy speaks in English, and he says, "We want no trouble from you. We're just here for the doctor." And he kind of points. And before you get the opportunity to say anything, Ash, your head is just exploding now with just a word just saying danger, 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 danger. And if you can, go ahead and make either a lore or notice roll for me, whichever is better for you. And it's going to be against the difficulty of just of 2.
Ooh.
Humpty!
Okay. Well, so I got a 2, but that's not counting your 2. That's just counting my lower level, which was a 4. So I ended up with a 2 coming out of it. So that you said it was a 2, so it's just
so you
barely
succeed.
making it, basically.
Yep, you succeed. You notice that Carlos is in the back of the room, and there's this magical energy starting to emanate from him. He's clearly doing something. He's getting ready to cast a spell. So, if you guys can, I want you all to tell me what your... How do I want to do this? I'm going to say, for initiative, we're going to go with athletics. So go ahead and tell me what your athletics score is. Actually, you know what? Go ahead and put it right in the chat, if you will, for me.
We suck.
No, you guys don't suck. That's all right. And Corey, did you take athletics?
No, not at all.
Okay, so you have a 0 then. Okay, no problem. 0. Ash has 2, and Haji has 1. Okay. And he's got 1. Okay. So let me just check really quick here on these two thugs and see. I believe they are not very good. Okay. So, Ash, you actually get to act first. You are surprisingly quick. So, you have Carlos in the back of the room starting to cast a spell, and these two guys with pistols still pointed at Sienna.
Okay. I mutter under my breath. So, if 1 pistol's not scary, is 2 pistols scary? And then, do I have anything nearby me that I can grab? And I'm trying to keep my head down, but do I have... I'm looking to see if somebody has a big book that I can grab, and so, since I was in between the chairs, the students are there with their books, grab a thick book, and I'm going to... How far is Carlos from me?
Carlos would be about 20 feet from you.
Okay.
So, yeah, you could do that. You just make an athletics roll.
Right, I just want to chuck the book at him, just trying to distract him. Okay,
absolutely.
Pop up, take a shot at him, and then duck back down.
Yeah, no problem. Okay.
With my luck, yeah, I'm not going to risk it. Okay.
Ooh.
Okay, so yes, you do manage to throw the book at him, and you manage to... I'm going to actually say in this case it was a create advantage roll. So that means that you get a boost on him with 1 free invocation. So what do you think that would be called? Like, We could even just call it flying book, or
Say
whatever.
distracted.
Okay.
Throw the book at him.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so go ahead and write that down. You have that distracted aspect. And this is where, if you're playing live, you have things like index cards that you throw down on the table. But since my screen resolution isn't good, I'm not going to put it up on the screen because you won't be able to see it. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to be nice and not compel you again. So
I'm so tempting, aren't I?
Living life to the fullest, damn it, I think would be, you'd be able to do that. So that's fine. Okay, so we have now Haji and the bad guys. So Haji, I'm going to let you go first.
Oh, you're the best.
Oh, I know it.
Let's see. So you said in order to invoke our powers, you want us to activate them this round and then be able to do something the following round, correct?
No, only if you. Well, I
Or
guess
is
tell
that
me
only
what
for
it
a
is
stun?
that you tell me what it is that you're thinking you want to do.
What I would like to do is I would like to open up a small gateway behind me, and then I would have another one that's opened up actually right above Carlos, and in the following round, I would just simply fall backwards into it, and as I twist and turn, I would drop down right next to Carlos.
Okay, so what I would say then is, no, you can use that, but I would think that you would have to invoke your Walker of the Crimson Road aspect to do that, right? Because I think that one.
Why I thought that you would want me to activate it this round and then be able to actually do it.
Yeah, well, and I think that actually makes sense. So what I would say is you go ahead and spend the fate point. That is happening. So that will be your action.
Yeah.
And then next round that will happen, and you'll be able to take another.
Yeah, just to make it fair, because doing it instantaneous would be kind of,
Right, right. Okay. Cool. All right, and so now the baddies are going to go. So first, I think we're going to have Carlos act. Oh man, he's got that distracted aspect on him. Let's see if he can do this. All right, so I am going to Ash. I'm going to have you make a overcome roll using will. And I need, okay. Oh yes, and you would definitely overcome. So he was doing something. You can tell he was casting some kind of spell, and you feel this force on your mind for just a moment, almost like this just sense of terror was trying to boil up in your mind. But you managed to actually shrug it off. You managed to kind of fight it down. But I'm going to again offer you a fate point and compel your trouble. You're feeling cursed, and you feel like this is going to go really bad. So if you accept that, you can gain the fate point. But I feel like you would be kind of like stuck. Like you're like, oh my God, I almost had something bad happen to me. Almost like a PTSD kind of thing. So how would you like to accept that compel?
Actually, no. I think I'll refuse that one, and I'll give you back the fate point.
Okay.
Because to me, it's like what he was trying to do. If he was trying to scare me, he's talking to a person, Ash, that has to deal with ghosts on a regular basis. And
okay.
So this is just it's nothing to him.
Okay. All right. There you go. So that's cool. And then so that happens, and then the two thugs at this point are somewhat hesitant. They don't know exactly what to do. One of them, though, seeing that there is an armed person, is going to fire. So, Sienna, I need you to make a defend roll for me, and I need you to roll basically athletics. And I... Oh. Dun, dun, dun. So you need to be a 2. And you don't. So that sucks, because that's a lot of shifts of damage. Now...
A lot of bad.
However...
That ain't too bad.
If... Oh, well, no, that distracted aspect is only on Carlos. If you believe that you have any kind of... whether your high concept, your trouble, or another aspect would help you in this regard, you could potentially invoke. I feel like if you wanted to, it wouldn't be all that strange to say that because you're the first female inspector for the San Francisco Police Department, you have been in a gunfight or two, and so you are quick on the draw. So...
Absolutely.
If you want to do that, you can spend a fate point and invoke that aspect. And what that will do is give you either the ability to add +2 to your roll, which is not going to help you, or to re-roll. So you may want to do that.
I would like to re-roll.
Okay, great. So just know that you now have 2 fate points instead of the 3 that you started with, and... Yes, go ahead and re-roll.
Okay. And it's still at 0 because I don't have athletics, so...
Yep.
That is a little bit better.
All right, so they still actually succeed because they rolled a +2. And
yeah.
what I'm going to do, actually, because I'm not actually a nice game master, is I'm going to invoke the aspect that you had on you, the sort of unfocused or whatever, to add +2 to their roll. So you're actually going to take, in this case, 3 shifts of damage as the one fires at you. So what that will mean is that you have your 3 stress boxes. Actually, what is your... Did you take physique as one of your skills? Corey?
No, I did not.
Okay, so then you have 3 stress boxes. So you can check off your 3rd stress box, which would absorb all 3 of those hits, if you want.
Okay.
Or can he also choose just to take a consequence?
He could. So if he wanted to, for example, I don't think you can take just a consequence. Well, yeah, you could actually. You could take
if it's high enough.
Moderate consequence in this case.
So if he, like, if she sprained her ankle, or if she tripped and banged her arm, or if a bullet grazed her.
Yep. Yep. So you could do that. Now remember that consequences stick with you for a little while. So in this case, because this is a one-shot, it will stick with you through the end of the adventure. But yes, you have that ability. So if you don't want to take actual physical stress, you can choose to take a consequence instead.
Okay, so the way stress works is if I have 3 boxes, once all 3 boxes do have checks in them, you're dead.
Well, not exactly, but sort of, yes. Your stress basically represents the amount of physical or mental stress that you go through before you can no longer continue in your action, right? So it's not exactly like hit points, but basically, yes, if you have no more stresses, you are taken out. Okay. And the game master gets to decide what happens to you.
I don't mind saying that I got grazed, and that I maybe actively, maybe it's actively bleeding.
Okay.
And not, nothing that's gonna kill me, but it's an open wound.
Okay, and keep in mind that that consequences are aspects, which means that they can be invoked against you. So
Right, right.
yeah, okay.
I would like that to be in my non-dominant arm, up in my shoulder area.
Okay, that's fine. So just go ahead and write down in your moderate consequence.
Yep.
Something like grazed arm.
Yeah, I was just gonna say shoulder gunshot wound.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And you see that the other guy actually starts rushing towards the stage, to try to get to Dr. Stetson. And so that's their turn. So now, Sienna, you actually get to take your action at this point. And what would you like to do?
All right. As far as drawing, is that all part of one action, or do I have to say, I mean, I can just draw my pistol and then shoot it?
Well, you had your pistol out, because I think you were sort of aiming it, right? So.
Well, yeah. I was readying myself to, what I mean, like.
Yep. Yeah. So that's fine. You can sort of describe what you're thinking you want to do, and I'll let you know how to do it.
What I was thinking is that I wanted to. Well, I definitely want to shoot back at him. He shot me.
Yeah. Okay.
And
shoot that bastard.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to shoot at him, but I was thinking about maybe just taking a warning shot in the area of the other gentleman that's shooting at me, and then trying to shoot at the other guy. Or do you think that's too? What I mean? Like
yeah.
Through my training, I would understand how to shoot a warning shot. Nothing to try to damage somebody, but to definitely maybe hinder, and then be able to. I don't know if that's two actions or not. I don't want to be too overzealous.
So what I would say is, on your first action to fire a warning shot, that would basically be creating an advantage. So I would say do that first. If you're successful, that would mean that you would basically put in an aspect saying something like, the person stops because there's a warning shot, right?
Right.
If you're not successful, I would say you could probably spend a fate point invoking your aspect to fire that second shot.
Okay.
But normally, no, you wouldn't be able to do that.
Right. I got you. All right. All right. I'm just gonna shoot back at the gentleman that shot at me.
Yep.
He's not the one that's running at the doctor.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm gonna Well, he tried to shoot me. Yeah, I'm gonna try to shoot him with lethal damage. Nothing with I'm meaning to take this guy out.
Yeah. So go ahead and go ahead and make a shoot roll for me. All right. So you have succeeded. You kind of fire at him, and you do not kill him, but you seriously injured him. So if you want, go ahead and describe what that scene would look like.
Well, I being very composed and looking back at my training, we've talked about what it would feel like to be shot, and I feel the heat in my arm and the sting and so on and so forth. And it certainly drives my fight or flight aspect up, and I take a shot at him as a reactionary thing, and I aim for an area that will make it so he stops. I was trained that if you are shot at, you definitely want to use lethal force. I aim for midline of his chest. I happen to hit him on the wrong side because I am a little bit rattled from being shot myself. That's why he doesn't die. But yeah, I definitely hit him. I would say on the right side of his chest, probably up in maybe near his upper shoulder area, and he drops in pain, definitely.
Awesome. Okay, yeah. And so he definitely does. You fire your pistol. and that happens, and he kind of drops to his knees with this grunt. Ugh! And at this point, you hear this clatter, and you hear this, this ruckus as, it sounds like a body is basically flying, through the room onto the chairs. And I believe that Ash ducked and covered again. And because we are back at the top of the order, Ash, if you want to describe what it is that you're doing at this point, go ahead and do that.
So yeah, I had shot up and thrown a book at Carlos and then ducked back down. But now, so we've got Carlos distracted, but I can see a portal opening from Haji above or next to him, correct?
Well, I don't know, Haji, would this be something that somebody could actually physically see?
The one that's behind me, no, because it's on the floor behind me. The other one that's opening up above Carlos, you probably could.
Right, because I'm looking at Carlos, and so that's what I'm thinking of seeing. So that means,
Yeah.
So how far am I from the shooter that's running up to Stetson?
At this point, I mean, not that far. You could definitely engage him, with your action.
With another book?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, the heck, it worked the last time, right? So I guess I'll pop up and take toss a book at him and see what I can do with it. Unless there's something better to throw at him, but I can't think of anything better that would be in here right now.
I mean, other than a chair,
Well, the chairs are probably bolted down or something, but yeah,
no.
I don't think I could throw it that far, right?
Okay. Yeah. So you want to throw a book at him? Sure. So yeah, go ahead and make an athletics roll for me.
Oh, come on. So athletics, it's fair. So I toss the book.
All right. So you don't deal any damage. However, you do tie. So that means that you don't deal any shifts, but you can get a boost. So what would you like to call that boost or that scene aspect?
So what could it be? It could be a stumble.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yes. All right. Stumbling. All right. Thud. Cool. All right. So yes, you potentially have now a aspect that you can invoke against that guy, or potentially let one of your companions do the same.
Right, because I was assuming Haji would be able to take advantage of the distracted against Carlos.
Right. Yep. Yeah, he can if he needs to. Exactly. So with that, it's actually Haji's turn.
So basically what happens is the key ring with the old set of skeleton keys starts to glow like a neon greenish color, and he simply just takes a step backwards, but as he does, he reaches into his hip area under his jacket and he pulls out a dagger, and as he steps back, he's basically just falling into nothing unless you're facing Carlos, which at that point he would be coming down right next to him looking to stab him.
Okay, awesome. And so, yeah, I would say that happens, and you can go ahead and make an attack roll.
Alrighty. And I'm going to use... Oh my god.
I think you probably have a fairly good chance here.
Don't forget you can use the distracted.
Yeah, although he doesn't need to because he deals 3 shifts of damage. So you have succeeded with style. So you either deal him 3 shifts, or you could deal him 2 shifts of damage and get a boost on him.
I will do 2 and a boost.
Okay.
And a boost is basically just creating a one-time aspect, right?
Yes, in this case it's an aspect, and you will get 2 free invokes on it because you've succeeded with style.
I'm going to create that as it came from behind and use it as a distraction for anybody else who wants to invoke it as far as distracting the other shooter.
Okay. Well, so this is only on Carlos. This is a boost
Oh,
only
I know.
on Carlos. But
But
yeah.
I basically came down behind him, and by hitting the ground, he probably heard me hit.
Oh, I see what you're. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so if
Yeah.
anybody else wanted to do anything against the individual that is not running
Mhm.
up towards Dr. Stetson, they could invoke it on them.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, so that makes sense. So that's cool. Yeah, so like all of a sudden you see him sort of almost like fall through the floor and then
Yeah.
kind of come out of the ceiling perhaps, dagger drawn, stabs into the I would imagine into the neck or the shoulder area of Carlos. Carlos yells out in pain and surprise, oh, and a little bit of terror, but he manages to kind of he's grabbing his shoulder and he kind of shoves away just a little bit, just to kind of gain a little bit of distance.
Mhm.
And he's actually going to all right, yeah, he's going to stay in the fight. I'm going to...
He's going to squirt all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. All right, he's going to spend another fate point to invoke or to cast a spell. And Haji, go ahead and make a will roll for me, please.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes. Okay, so far he has beat you, so he will succeed in casting a spell on you. If you want, I can describe what he's trying to do first, or you can choose if you wish to use one of the aspects that are on Carlos to bump your roll up by 2, in which case he will fail.
I'll probably invoke an aspect that's currently on Carlos.
All right, so we'll get rid of the distracted aspect. You still have your came from behind with 2 free invokes.
Okay.
All right, so let me just take a look here. Do I want to use my last fate point? Yes. Oh, no, actually, I got another one because you didn't. You gave me the fate point. Woohoo!
Right.
All right. Well, yeah. So then I am going to. Oh yeah. All right. So. Yeah, I'm gonna make you bleed those aspects. So I'm gonna spend that fate point to invoke his high concept, and I'm going to basically add +2. So at this point, that now bumps me up +1 over you again. So again, if you want, you can also use one of your 2 free invokes of your came from behind to add +2, at which point you'll then be +1 on him. So it's up to you.
Actually, I won't. I don't feel like being Superman here, so.
All right.
Do what you got to do.
All right. So.
Help me, please.
You have. Let me just read this really quick. Okay. You are all of a sudden, just this crippling terror comes over your mind, and Carlos looks in your mind almost like this demonic figure. Like it almost seems like his features and his demeanor have changed to be just this horrifying vision in front of you. And so you have this aspect on you right now called crippling terror.
Okay.
So you are terrified of Carlos.
Next turn, since I have a very high willpower, would I be able to roll to attempt to overcome it?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So that's what he does. The other guy, who was the other thug who was running, who was trying to get to Dr. Stetson, now does get to Dr. Stetson, and he's kind of trying to hold him at gunpoint. He's kind of trying to make him stop. And you actually see Dr. Stetson, who's completed his ritual at this point, pick up his briefcase and kind of hold it up in front of him, like like don't shoot, and he's sort of ducking, and they're doing this little sort of maneuver, like almost like circling, where the guy is not getting in close, but he is, he's not like getting in like he's gonna grapple him, but he's holding his pistol, yelling at him, stop, stop, stop. But you see this portal. It almost looks like this shimmering, like almost like a shadow. It's like, or no, not like a shadow. More like if you're grilling on a hot day, right? And you see just that like, that like heat coming off the grill. That's what it looks like. It's just a shimmer in the air, but it's nothing material. The other guy on the ground, at this point, kind of gets up, holding his shoulder, and he's gonna try to fire at you, Sienna, again, but he's definitely hurt. So go ahead and make a defend roll for me using athletics. And so, all right, so right now you would normally be taking 2 shifts of damage. However, this guy does have a stumbling sort of aspect on him, I think. Oh, no, that was the other guy, right? That was the guy you were throwing the book at. Okay, no, never mind. So yeah, right now you're going to take 2 shifts of damage, or you would have to do potentially a consequence, but unless you want to invoke something.
I'll take the 2 shifts.
Okay. So yeah, you just check off your second box there.
I'm gonna have to do that somewhere else because I don't.
Well, you can invoke the aspect that I put up there because there's still one of those, right?
Well,
for distraction.
Well, there's on Carlos there was the came from behind. So the way I would imagine that is that is strictly going to work for Carlos because the other guy wasn't near him. He wasn't distracted by that at all. So that will work only on actions taken against Carlos. So and in this case, what's happening is as the gunfire is going off, everybody is fleeing the room. Everybody is like, ducking under cover. None of your compatriots are here trying to help you. You notice they're all terrified, and Dr. Stetson is doing everything he can to try to sort of, just get out of here without getting shot. But that being said, it is now Sienna's turn.
Okay. I definitely think I need to let this guy see his maker. So, or whatever made him.
And so are you going to try to kill him, or are you going to just try to incapacitate him?
Okay, so at this point, he's still pointing a gun at me. The other thug is having a little Dancing with the Stars moment with the professor. And, yeah, I've been shot twice.
Yep.
Yeah, that dude's gotta die.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just gonna be a shoot, right?
Yep. Oh wow.
Oh wow.
All right,
I did quite well, but
yeah, you did really well. All right, I think so. For those of you that have played Fate before, I can't remember when it comes to a consequence. I can actually invoke that once for free, right? Because this thug put that consequence on him. Do you guys know if that's correct? His shoulder.
Yes,
injury?
you can.
Okay. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to. So that will just reduce the. So he'll only take one shift. Actually, you know what? No, because he's going to die anyway. So I won't do that. So yes, you take him out and go ahead and describe the scene for me.
Okay, so being now even further enraged that I've been shot twice. The second one was directly in that same arm. He seems to have an affinity wanting to shoot me on the right side of my body, maybe because that's where my vital organs are. But he I'm hurting, and I kind of rage up, and I kind of jump over the chair towards him, and I just kind of tackle him. We both fall to the ground, and I kind of end up on top of him, and I say, everything that I have been trained has been said not to do this, but I'm not on the force right now. And I take my badge off, and I show it to him, and I go, yeah, I'm a police officer, but not right now. And I throw it over my shoulder, and I blast him right in his head.
Nice. And
as you guys can see, she has a little bit of a mean streak to her if things don't go right.
Remind me not to piss her off, right?
Yeah, probably not. There's a reason that she's, the first female, cop in the police department. She doesn't take any junk from anybody.
Yeah, and that happens, and I'm gonna actually I'm gonna say that I'm going to compel your trouble. Actually, the captain knows your secret because there are witnesses here. There is a dead body that you fired. You took him out when potentially you didn't need to. And so you're concerned now that that's going to get back to your captain and that you could potentially lose your job. So if you want to accept that compel, I'm going to say that you can gain a fate point, but that is going to prevent you from basically taking any more violent action for the rest of the scene. Or you can pay a fate point and say, to hell with that, I don't care about my captain. I'll shoot anybody that I need to.
I am going to kind of have that moment when because I was shot, I was not thinking outside of myself. So having a moment maybe after to collect my thoughts, I would like to accept that new fate point and accept that compel.
Okay, fantastic.
Yes, I would not. I will not create any more violence, but I would maybe not fake that I'm going to. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I won't shoot anybody else. How's that?
That's fine.
I may use my weapon as a means to try to get my point across, but not
Yeah. Yep.
Not for these
Exactly.
rules.
Yeah. In game mechanic terms, you could use it as to create an advantage. You basically to intimidate somebody. But yeah, absolutely.
Right. Now,
Okay.
as seen as our whole one shot, or is that just
No,
this
although
little?
I tend to do in this case, yes, the scene is going to be this one scene. When you at the end, well, if you guys survive, which I assume you will, if you jump through the portal, then that would be a new scene. But that's simply going to be narrative. Normally, scenes have a normal beginning and end. This case, I tend to run Fate a little bit differently. So yes, you kind of have one big scene here.
Okay.
But that guy is now dead on the ground. And Ash, you have just witnessed this. You have thrown your book at the other guy who's now kind of circling Dr. Stetson. And Carlos just had some crazy shit happen to him. So what are you going to do?
Let's see. Well, I guess I've got a couple of options. So, am I close enough that I could actually run up to the stage?
Yes.
Okay, so I can run up to the stage and grab the assailant from behind, the other guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, then that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to run up and grab him, and I'm going to use what I'm reluctant to do this, but I'm gonna suck the life out of him.
Nice. Okay, so let me see. In this case, I'm just going to have you make a straight, just a straight attack roll, I guess.
Right, it was going to be lore instead of fight, right? The stunt.
Yep, exactly. And I'm going to say in this case, he's going to roll will to try to, oh wow, he's probably not going to. Let's just take a look. +1. Yeah. So you deal him 4 shifts of damage. He is dead. You go ahead and decide.
Oh, I wasn't really going to kill him. I was being.
Well, you don't have to kill him. That's fine. You don't actually have to kill him, but you could just. He's no longer a threat, so you can describe what that looks like. Yeah.
Okay, so what that looks like is as I do this, the blood's going to drain out of Ash's face, and he's got dark hair and ice blue eyes. But so as he does this, the contrast in his complexion will get more intense, and you'll also see that the person I'm attacking, the color's going to drain out of his face. His eyes are going to go wide. And he's going to start shaking in fear from what's happening to him and what he's seen. Because as he's seeing this, he's seeing his life, the dead people from his life flashing in front of his face as I suck the life force out of him.
Awesome, yeah, and he's just basically screaming in terror until the screaming just cuts off. Now, would you say that you kind of suck it out of him to the point where he's unconscious, or do you kill him?
No, it's just I'm trying to. If it plays out the way I want, I'm trying to just knock him out, because Ash is not really a killer. Because if he kills him, that's just going to be one more ghost in my life.
Right, because he's a reluctant necromancer.
Right.
That's cool. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not going to be mean to you. Okay. So yes, that's exactly how that happens. And he kind of crumples to the ground. You can see his chest is still falling, rising and falling, somewhat faintly, but he is still alive. And Dr. Stetson looks to you and he says, thank you, and he's going to, he's distracted, he's looking at the portal, kind of like, and he kind of finishes his ritual, and you actually see, or he's trying to finish his ritual, so you're getting the impression that this portal is not fully open yet, and as that is happening, Haji, what do you do? You are basically sitting here in stark terror of Carlos.
Well, I'm going to attempt to do 2 things. One, I'm going to make a willpower roll to attempt to overcome the current terror state that I'm in.
Okay.
Let's see. So let's see how this works.
All right.
Ooh.
So you were making an overcome. Let's see what happens on a tie first. You could succeed at a minor cost. However, I'm going to invoke. I'm going to spend my last fate point, and I'm going to invoke that terror aspect. So I actually will get +2. So that means that I've succeeded. So, or you failed essentially, unless you think there's something you can do.
I'm actually going to spend a point. I'm going to invoke Walker of the Crimson Road, and the portal that is on the area I fell into, not the portal that's above his head, is going to disappear and reappear directly under him. So essentially, like in Portal, the game, he'll begin to fall into an endless fall until I decide to end it.
Okay. Interesting. All right.
A perma portal. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really mean. No, that's cool.
Really mean.
So
Yeah, when you stop it, he's going to have accelerated how fast?
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. It's gonna be awesome.
Well, it depends how I end it, because I can have him launch into the air, and I can have him land on stage, or I can have him fall over something that's going to be soft enough in order to break his fall if we want him still alive, or I can just put it on
the ground.
something hard and have him completely.
Yep. All right. No, that's cool. So there's definitely potential, and potentially next turn you could do that. However, so you're all right. So I guess what you're saying then, in a sense, is that role, you used your role to. Would you say you overcame the terror, or were you simply, you're still terrified of him, but as a reaction to that terror, you did this? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So then, okay, that's good. So as that's happening, as the thing is moving, the portal is sort of, the portal is moving under his feet. You actually see him cast a spell, and he is going to, and so I just need you to simply make a defend roll. Oh, wow.
How am I gonna
with athletics? Because he's firing a projectile spell at you.
Well,
okay.
Shit.
Well, shit. So you see this. And I
still have a boost on him.
Yes, you do.
So I'm going to invoke that and bring it up to a 6 and tie.
Okay. So on a tie, that would mean he would get a boost. Now, you've only used one.
Yeah.
And I believe you have 2 free invokes, so just keep that in mind, because you succeeded with style. But as it stands right now, if we are tied, then he is going to not deal you any damage, as his magic missile, basically fires at you these 3 bolts of purple light.
Mm-hmm.
Fire at you, and you manage to actually with a little bit of grace and dexterity, but also with the fact that as he's firing this missile, he's actually starting to fall through the portal.
Damn,
you managed to not, you managed to not take any damage. So, well, yeah, he had to get close to Dr. Stetson. He's no janitor. No. Cool. So yeah. So I mean,
he's
unless
a
you want
custodian.
Exactly. He's a what do they call him now?
Custodial engineer.
Yeah. There you go. So
or a janitor if you want to be a dick about it.
No. Yeah, exactly. And in 1910, they're okay with being a dick about it. So effectively, right now, until next turn, there is no more threat. the thugs are taken out, and apparently Carlos is indisposed. So, Sienna, what would you like to do?
I'd like to go over and pick up my badge that I threw, in a rage, and kind of maybe apologize to the room that I got so violent, and kind of check the man and prepare him as I was have been taught, kind of not have him all like strewn all over the place. Because back in 1910 they wouldn't have had so much idea of keeping a crime scene or anything like that. So I probably would have moved the body and looked over him and so on and so forth.
Well, I mean, you would potentially know about forensics and about not to the same level of technology and detail that we would now, but you would definitely know that if you were to do that, it would
be bad.
Potentially, cause a problem. It depends on whether you care or not, because he is dead.
Well, he is dead, and I did do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yes, you do all that.
I want to check this guy over and see if there's anything on him. I want to kind of and can I use investigate to kind of did it work like that?
Yeah, but you don't actually have to roll.
Okay.
He is. You're sort of sorry. There was a lot of feedback there. He was. Yeah, you kind of search his body and you see the sort of Illuminati symbol on his, on his chain. Kind of, it's a necklace. You also you kind of rummage through his pockets and you pull out a letter, just a simple handwritten letter. And as you pull it out, it's in Spanish and it's very simple. Basically, it just gives the address to the lecture hall. It gives the name Professor Stetson, or Dr. Stetson, and it says, take alive if at all possible. And that's it. It's not signed by anyone. It's in an elegant script. From your experience analyzing handwriting samples and stuff, you believe that this would be a feminine hand that would have written this. And then, he's got some identification on him. He's got a very nondescript name. He seems like just a normal guy. He lives in, he's local. He's got a union card on him. He works down at the docks. He just seems like a thug, basically, a thug for hire.
All right, yeah. Can I check the other guys too, or no?
Yeah, you can check. I mean, you won't be able to check Carlos because he's in Portal Hell right now. But
yeah,
you could check the other guy, absolutely. And
you have anything on him or not?
It's pretty much exactly the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I definitely walk over to where Carlos is and marvel at the fact that this is happening in front of me and I'm pretty excited.
Okay.
And then that would be the kind of where I am. where Haji is and just excited that he did this to somebody. It looks pretty funny.
All right, excellent.
We just sort of stand around and watch him go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of, but you guys forget too that Haji's still in a state of terror, so he's kind of on the floor in a semi-fetal position, holding the sides of his head, attempting to compose himself. Can I do another will check?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Can I try and assist him? Can I like shake him out of it?
Yeah, I would say, well, not immediately. Well, yeah, because you know what, we're not in combat anymore. So yes, I would say you could notice. You kind of see Dr. Stetson. There's no more threat. You're a little bit nervous though about this this portal and what might come through, especially because he mentioned that, and also the fact that he mentioned that that something could come through, and he asked everybody to kind of stay on guard. So You could, but
But
I
I can
want
also
to
see what's going through the portal, right? Is that the idea? Because I'm the closest to the portal?
Yeah, because you would be standing very like right next to him. So I would say you decide what you want to do.
Okay, then I'll stay there and watch the portal. But I've also got the other guy right under me. So if I take a
Right.
quick look at him, do I find a note?
Yes. Well, so if you look at him, or I believe Sienna kind of searched him as well, but yeah, same thing. The note.
Okay. Well, in any case, I'll ask Sienna if I can see the note, and then I can take the note and I'll do echoes of the past on it, do my retrocognition, and see what I can pull out of the note.
Okay. And I'm gonna actually let you tell me what you pull out of the note.
Oh. Okay. Let me get the.
I got a +3 on willpower.
Okay.
Or instead of investigate. Okay. Oh.
Ooh. Ooh.
I don't get much out of it. So I can feel that it was definitely a woman, a very old but young woman, wearing satin robes. I think I see a dragon, and I hear lots of noise in the background, water running, and that's all I get out of it.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So yeah, you kind of get that impression, and would you say that was did it give you a sense of unease? Like was this an actual like fantasy kind of dragon, or is this more of like a Chinese mythological just kind of dragon image? And does it seem threatening? Oh, you are muted.
Sorry.
Yep.
I was thinking more along the lines of I've seen it on her clothes, her clothing.
Okay. Cool. All right. Yep. Awesome. So you kind of notice that, and that makes you want to hang back even more, kind of make sure that guy doesn't get up, because he's obviously associated with somebody that could potentially be, in league with, God, who knows, maybe some triads or even even some kind of cult other than the Illuminati.
I was gonna say the Illuminati's reach goes pretty far.
Yeah, yeah, and so Haji, you actually manage now, kind of taking in your surroundings and seeing that Carlos is largely incapacitated, at least for the moment. You manage to break through your terror.
All right, so I stand up. I kind of dust myself off, get myself together. Now, I just have a quick question for you. In his current state, since he's been stabbed, and he's falling through this perpetual, endless fall currently, what is his current health state as he's falling? Is he passed out by now? Is he having a heart attack? How did you want to portray him, Sam?
So he's still injured, but from the dagger that stuck into him.
Yeah.
But right now, I would imagine that he's not passed out, but he's freaking out because he's like, ah,
Yeah, basically. Okay.
Yeah,
So.
but you can actually tell he's trying to break out of this thing. Like he's conscious. He's trying to use either his momentum or his magic to somehow get out.
What I basically want to do is put the portal that's on top in a 45-degree angle facing towards the stage so that he can be fired out, but it's not going to be at an angle that he's going to slam into something. It'll be more like he's going across a huge distance, but when he hits the stage area, he'll basically just slide across very roughly, and hopefully he'll stay alive enough so he will not be killed, but we may be able to still question him.
Okay. Now, with the portals, once you have them open,
Yes.
do you imagine that you would have that degree of control automatically, or would you need to spend a fate point to do that?
I can do it automatically, but this is the point that I was trying to explain to you earlier, that you can compel them at any time because they are open.
Ah, okay. Then I'm going to do that.
Okay.
Now, but what I'm going to do, I am going to compel them. You succeed for the most part, but Chris called it. As you do this and you kind of angle it, and you kind of do your thing and pop him out, just at that moment, Dr. Stetson completes the ritual. The portal opens, and and he kind of looks over to Ash with this like look of kind of excitement and triumph, and then you hear this ah, and then it just cuts off, and you guys see the body of Carlos just go flying basically from the roof, and actually goes through the portal. And then Dr. Stetson has this look on his face like, oh my God, you know, he's like, because he doesn't quite get what's going on. I mean, this was a member of the League, even though, you know, now he's like, oh my God, they're Illuminati, whatever. Dr. Stetson is that kind of guy, so he's like, oh no, this guy just went through the portal.
2 points.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, that's definitely a 3-point game winner right there. And actually, with that, Dr. Stetson will look to you guys, and he says, "No, actually, you know what? I'm gonna reverse this a little bit. Let's back it up. That happens, but as Carlos is kind of flying across the room, Dr. Stetson is walking toward the portal to look at it. He's excited, and he gets knocked in with Carlos. Yeah, so there is still that, oh, but it's actually 2 people that are making that noise as they basically go tumbling into the portal and out of sight.
Well, shit.
Yep. So, what are you guys gonna do?
Well, it's either we go in after him or we tend to Sienna's injuries.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Ash would, at this point, would be laughing hysterically because he's on a high from the life essence he pulled from the guy, and he would go up to Sienna and say, "Can I help you? Can I help you?"
And actually, before you do that, and I feel like I'm picking on you because your aspects are the easiest ones for me to compel. Yeah, I'm going to compel your living life to the fullest, damn it, aspect if you want, and will say, no, you want to jump through the portal. You want to see what's there, and you want to find out, because at this point, there's not enough explanation. You guys were distracted enough that you don't know how he opened the portal. And that was sort of the whole point of the evening. So you're like, no, man, I want to know. And I want to possibly rescue this guy because he could help me. So I would say you would jump through the portal.
Okay, I'll take that. Did he leave the book on the podium?
Yes.
So can I grab the book on the from the podium and say, Professor, you forgot your book?
Do not chuck this book.
So I was just about to do that.
Do not chuck this book.
Just about to do that, and then I stumble and I go through the portal.
Yes,
laughing
you
the
can
whole
do
way.
that. Yeah, you can definitely do that. So you guys see Ash jump through the portal, basically saying, Professor, your book! What are you guys going to do?
Well, yeah, I look at Haji and go, we gotta go. Now. And I run into the portal very intently.
And with that, I jump into the one that I have on the floor, which sends me launching into the other one, and I kind of like swan dive in.
Awesome. That's ridiculous.
God,
and
I love this
awesome.
power.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So you guys all make it into the portal. And what I'm going to do at this point, this is the end of the adventure. So like I said in the beginning, I'm going to have you guys describe what you see on the other side. I'm going to roll to determine who goes first. And so if you're cool with it, I know, Corey, you wanted a break at 10. If you're cool with it, if we can go through this part of it, and then that's the end of it.
That's fine by me.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds
So I rolled a 1, so that means, Chris, you're going to get to kick us off here. Now, you can choose to defer if you wish, but you set the scene. What do you see on the other side of this portal?
He's the first one to go through.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that since we had talked about the book being from Atlantis, I'm going to say that the portal actually opened to Atlantis. And so I'm arriving, dusting myself off as I stand up, still laughing hysterically, and I look up and I see these amazing buildings that are glistening in sunlight that's not really that clear, but very tall buildings, very graceful buildings with no apparent windows, and so that's what I would kick it off with.
Okay.
Somebody
Awesome.
else pick it up.
So, yeah. So, Corey, I would say you're next in line, so why don't you go ahead and describe the next part of the scene.
And I, when I come to the portal, it's just like everything is kind of has a bluish tinge to it, and it's about the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm really mesmerized by what I see, and kind of sad I didn't get to go through the portal like the other guys did, because I want to try that portal jump thing. But yeah, besides that, she's a little bit bummed about that, but no. And I wish somebody would take care of this gunshot wound.
All right, awesome. And then, Haji, why don't you end the scene for us here?
So basically, as he swan dives in, he ends up going through the portal, but he lands in some type of pond several hundred feet away because of the momentum that launched him. But as he's sailing through the air, he does see like these seashell-esque type of dirigibles being flown around, and things that resemble factories, even though the actual smokestacks are made out of coral. And you can see how these buildings are piped in with undersea-esque constructs, but a semi-steampunk type of feel to them, but it's not actually steam. It's more just hydrated bubbles that come out instead of air.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, and so as you guys take in this scene, and you sort of get the impression, Haji, you especially, you recognize where you are, and you can't believe it. It's Atlantis, or at least you believe that this is Atlantis. And you look around, and you actually cannot see Dr. Stetson or Carlos anywhere around you. You're looking on this beautiful and majestic scene, and almost this terrifying scene at the same time. And as you do so, a couple of figures actually materialize into maybe half a dozen figures, start emerging out of this mist towards you, and they seem to be carrying some sort of staff-like object. You're not quite sure what it is, but they are very tall and very thin. And all of a sudden, this high pitch, kind of almost like a whine sound, just kind of, it's like, and it starts to get louder and louder and louder. And you guys all kind of grasp your ears, like, trying to stop this sound, and you start to black out as the scene kind of comes to a close. And as you're blacking out, you're noticing one of these figures starts materializing and focusing as your vision is actually starting to unfocus. But you catch a glimpse of this female character with a bluish skin, looking like a human. She looks like a human, but she's got bluish skin, tattoos all over her face and body, this beautiful sort of greenish blonde hair, wearing these robes and holding this object in her hand, which she appears to be pressing a button. And with that, everything fades to black. So that concludes the first session of what I hope to be many periodically throughout, the months or whatever, in this homebrew setting that I've created. This was the inaugural scene for the American League of Eldritch Scholars. And so if there is a session 2, just for anybody who might be interested in playing, there will be a rescue from Atlantis, hopefully.
Nice.
Yeah, and so just to let everyone know, the purpose of this game was, and the setting was, to allow Fate to experience all kinds of different genres and settings and whatever. So, starting with modern-ish, but with magic, and now potentially going to Atlantis, and we've got a great setup for maybe a steampunk, arcane punk type world to explore using Fate. So with that, I'm going to let you guys, kind of do any outro or whatever that you want to do. If you have any channels or projects or anything you want to plug, go ahead. Otherwise, you can sign off, and then we will end the broadcast. So, Chris, I'll start with you.
Okay, well, that was quite unexpected. I think it went very well, and I didn't realize I was going to be so compellable with those, but that was fun. That worked out well. And yeah, so Ash ends up, as he's passing out, he's laughing the whole time. Atlantis! Who'd have thought it? And passes out. And I'll leave it with that. And yeah, this I'd like to continue this. So if this continues, if we're going to be rescued or if we're going to be the rescuers, let's go for it.
Awesome, thanks. And Corey, I'll kick it over to you.
Yeah, this is great. I like Fate. I hope I did well. I don't know. She's cool. I would definitely want to play some more. I didn't even get to use her, her stunt, because there wasn't anybody with powers. Well, there's a lot of people with powers near me, but yeah, we didn't go that way because I got shot. So, but yeah, it was certainly a lot of fun. I would love to play again. And yeah, let's get rescued or be the rescuers. It'll be fun.
Cool, thanks. And yet again, Mike, last but certainly not least.
I'm going to end the scene with a quantum leap kind of moment where he's pulling his face up from the water and he sees these individuals holding staffs, and he's just kind of like, oh boy. And then after that, he'll black out. I always enjoy Fate. I enjoy the creativity. I enjoy, even if you're a newer player, you can come straight out of the box and just stop sneezing and just be able to make it seem as if you've been playing this for years on end. So the only thing I would plug, actually, I'm going to throw this to you, Sam, if you want to plug the new World of Darkness collaborative project.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I will. So guys, this was another, Chalice and Chains Fate one-shot. I as well love Fate. I think that Fate is a phenomenal system that anyone can pick up. Particularly the way I run it, as any viewers will have seen, I ask you to tell me what you want to do, and I'll tell you how to do it. And so I think that makes it very easy for anybody to come in and kind of quickly grasp the game. And if you have any desire to to be narrative and to play that type of game, Fate is your jam. As to what Michael said, I have started what I hope to be a project bringing the New World of Darkness setting to the Tabletop RPG one-shot group. In particular, I want to run at least a session or two of Vampire the Requiem. And I know Mike was considering doing some sessions of Hunter the I think it's the Vigil is the second edition version. But my overall vision for that, and I'll leave some description links in the description of the video below, but is to get people who want to either play or run New World of Darkness games to work together to collaborate in a setting that I've set as Metro City, where everybody can sort of run games with that as the backdrop, and potentially those storylines can come in and out and weave in and out. So if anybody's interested in that, let me know. I have a group set up. We've got some collaborations already going on, and we will continue to do that. I don't anticipate much happening until 2016 with that, but you never know. So with that, I wanted to thank you guys. This was really fun. Thanks for humoring me. Brigadecon 2015, everyone, go check it out. It is all kind of for charity. So I believe Child's Play is the charity. Go to brigadecon.org or the Facebook page and and check it out.